It is.
Let me ask you a question, Henry. What was it like growing up? I have to ask you because everybody remembers Olan Mills.
Yeah.
Tell me what it was like to have. How old were you when your grandfather started the business?
You
were not even there.
I didn't exist yet.
You didn't even exist
That's how old
yet.
I was.
Right,
I didn't exist. He was the youngest of 11 out of a family in Nebraska during Depression times. He set out to try to find a job, and he went to a town where he had a friend, and he borrowed a friend's camera. So the story goes, and he went out to the town square and put up a little sandwich board and said 5 cents down and 5 cents when you pick up the picture, and along came the first couple. He took their picture, and they went away, and he took that nickel, and he went to the store, and he bought some film, and the next day when they came back to get their picture, he said, look, I'm really sorry, but your film didn't develop, but I'll take the next picture for free. Point being is he needed that first nickel to get the company started.
To be able to do it,
That's right. So that's the myth behind Olan Mills, and it grew to be the largest portrait studio in the country.
Now, your dad worked for your grandfather, correct?
He did. Although my mother is my grandfather's child.
Oh, okay.
So my grandfather had 4 children: my 2 uncles, my aunt, and my mother.
Okay.
But my father did work at Olan Mills. He had worked at Peerless Woolen Mills, which was my other family's business on my father's side. Was founded in the late 1800s. It was one of the largest woolen mills in the country, and they had just sold to Burlington in the late 60s, and Olan Mills had opened a plant in Dallas, Texas. And my grandfather made an offer to my father and my mother to say, hey, come to Dallas, come work for Olan Mills. And my father was the sales manager for the western region of the United States. So
wow, so you grew up with Olan Mills.
I grew up with Olan Mills.
And let me ask you a question. Did you work for them yourself?
I did. It was my first job, the first job I ever had. I caught the bus to downtown Dallas, had to switch and go onto Industrial Boulevard. And, it's one of the main points that I make in my book was that my first job at Olan Mills, my grandfather's the founder of Olan Mills Portrait Studios, and my uncles were running the company, and my mother was related to my grandfather, and guess what my first job was?
Sweeping the floor.
It was probably worse than sweeping the floor.
What did you do?
All the film, all the pictures that got taken around the country would be put in these film canisters and shipped to the plant.
Right.
And they would take the film out, and there were these tin canisters that were very sharp, and they were all over the floor, and it was Henry's job to go gather up all the cans and put the lids on them, and then take all the cans and put them in I had to create the boxes, put them in the boxes, and I had to ship them all back out to all of the studios so they could put the film in them.
Let me ask you a question. Was it exciting? No.
No, it was very boring.
Very boring.
Very boring.
And when did you decide you didn't want to be in the family business?
Well, I didn't decide that until many years later. Even then I'd kind of realized my manager, which I think is an interesting side story, my manager came up to me the first day and said, hey, look, my name's Darlene. I've worked here for 20-something years. I don't care who your mom is. I don't care who your grandfather is. You work for me, and this is the job that you have, and if you don't like it, then you can go do something else. And I said, that's fine. I'm here to work. And we had a great relationship because I respected her, and she wanted to let me know that there was going to be no favoritism, and there shouldn't have been.
Right.
But after I graduated, I'd worked with Olan Mills in the summers, growing up as a kid and through college. But when I graduated from college, I had a choice to either go with the company or go do something else, and I'd gotten a job offer with IBM to go work in Hong Kong.
And did you like that?
I did. I loved it. And so I went to my family and I said, look, I love you. You never said that you needed me, and I never committed to coming. And they said, look, go work for IBM. That's terrific. And some years later, if you change your mind, you'll be all the better for it. Right. By having that experience and all the learning you'd get. So.
Right. Yeah. Is Olan Mills at all in business today?
They are not. And it's not a sad story, and a lot of family businesses need to realize that not every family business needs to go forever or is intended to go forever.
Right.
The photography business has basically been decimated. Everybody's got a cell phone.
That's true.
Everybody's got a camera on their cell phone. Everybody's got Facebook and Instagram and so on and so forth. It doesn't replace having your family portrait above your fireplace, but the demand and the need to have pictures taken before the advent of cameras on cell phones, it's just not there anymore. And so there were two left standing, Olan Mills and Life Touch. Life Touch is an ESOP. It's owned by the employees. My cousins were working at Olan Mills, and they'd kind of decided, you know, this is going to be a long, hard slog to try to make something out of this, and if we sell to Life Touch, then all the employees will fold underneath the ownership program that they have. And so it was a good deal. It was good for the employees, and we had a great run, and it was a good sale.
How long were they in business totally?
Gosh, that's a good question. I want to say it was 90 years. They were, is it 90 or 80? We were sold, this is 2014, I think we were sold 2012.
So just a couple of years ago.
Just a couple of years ago. And interestingly, I had not worked for Olan Mills for a long time, but my uncle made a point of calling everybody that was connected. He called me personally and said, Henry, you know, how you doing? So on and so forth. We hadn't spoken in a while. He said, look, I just wanted to let you know that we've been in a conversation with Life Touch and we've decided to sell the company. And that's the kind of family business we had.
And the funny thing is that we did a portrait with our church.
Oh, really?
Just about maybe 2010.
Right.
And I remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then I went to work with Candid Color Systems.
Oh, really? Okay.
Selling their franchises.
Right, right.
Which was started in Oklahoma, as you know. And that was the dress-up kind of stuff, you know, and take pictures and stuff like that, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it's really changed, like you said.
It has. Well, now, Olan Mills is still around. I will have to mention. The brand is around. That was part of the deal. Part of the understanding is my uncle said, "Look, I'd like to keep the name," and they said, "Absolutely." There are a lot of Olan Mills followers. There's many people that don't realize that it's a family-owned, run business. They just know Olan Mills.
Wow.
So they're keeping the name Olan Mills, and it's schools and churches and studios around the country are still there, just not actually owned by Olan Mills descendants.
Right. So if you would give your website for your business right now in your book, I'd appreciate it. So just give it to the audience.
Our website is familybusinessusa.com. And the book has its own website, dirtylittlesecretsofFamilyBusiness.com. So if you want to go there, you'll find it.